Scrolling through social media can be like navigating a minefield of misinformation on everything from politics to health, you name it. And that is hard enough as it is, but when it comes to parenting advice, who can you trust? The New York Times bestselling author of Crib Sheet, Emily Oster, is who we're going to talk to about all this. She's also the founder and CEO of Parent Data and has important tips on how to sort out the good advice from the bad. Emily, good morning. It's so good to see you. I love scrolling through videos. But the thing is, just because something is slickly produced and has great captions does not mean that you can rely on it for useful and truthful information online.
Yeah, so I think misinformation has a few problems for parents. One is that we know that false information gets amplified more than true information. So you're seeing a lot of false information. And then people are getting that information when they're not ready to process it. So it's coming right at them rather than them seeking it out. And that's not serving our critical thinking. And then also, a lot of the false information looks like the good information. It looks like this person's a real expert when actually the studies that they're talking about are not good, are made up, are in many ways flawed.
Well, that can be really dangerous, especially when it comes to health information for kids.
It can, and I think one of the things is parents are constantly being served, here's a simple solution for a complex problem. If only you gave your kid this one supplement, their ADHD would be solved. And that causes parents to both think they're doing things wrong and also potentially to not seek out good information to solve the actual problems that they're having.
Yeah, it can be dangerous for the kids, but as you point out, it's dangerous for the parents because they think they're screwing up. And everything you're doing as a parent is high stakes and high pressure. You want to get it done and urgently, and you feel terrible when it doesn't work. So my household's been a big fan of yours since your very first book because you go to the actual research as best we can tell something and lay out an answer. People should look up all of your work. But on the fly, when you're on social media and you see something, what are some red flags to look for about that should make you think twice?
So I think one thing is to look for credentials. That doesn't always help, but some people, if somebody's the head of the AAP, they have more credentials than someone who doesn't have any of those qualifications. I think the second thing is that people should be looking for, is this person offering something where if I give them money, there's an easy solution to a hard problem? That's not usually the way that solutions work. That's not how an expert's gonna pitch to you. Comment for my supplement brand so you can solve all your problems. That's probably misinformation. I think that's a pretty good tip for a lot of people in processing some of this online information.
We were talking about the dangers of this when it comes to health. I mean, we're seeing vaccine skepticism at the highest levels at this point. What resources can parents trust out there?
So I hope that they trust me. So I have a website called Parent Data, which looks at this. But I think also things like the American Academy of Pediatrics has been really effective, particularly around vaccines, in coming out and saying, here's actually what you need to know. Here's the good information about this. And I think it is particularly hard when at the highest levels we're seeing this kind of really misinformation coming out to parents.
And the reality is on a lot of tough questions of what to do as a parent, the answer is the research is a little inconclusive and it may depend on your particular kid.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it is also going to be dependent on your preferences. Even the best data is not usually bossy. Usually you can look at the data, understand what it says, and then make a decision that's consistent with the values that your family has. And I think that putting those together is important, but you do need the best data. You're not going to make good decisions if the data you have is wrong.
Why is it, do you think, that people fall so easily into these traps with these online influencers?
I think there's a clickbaitness where when we see something that makes us panic, we panic, and then we want to react to it immediately. And we all want to do exactly the right thing for our kids. And I think that's fundamentally, this comes from such a good place of wanting to be the best parent. Yeah. And parenting is hard, and we're looking for the solution. If the solution says it's easy, I want to dive into that.
Yeah, especially when there's some nice music in the background.
When there's beautiful music and the person's kitchen is very clean, it's like they must know something I don't. What is it that they know?
I've given up being the best parent. I want to be perfectly fine.
Second best parenting.
Fine. Yeah, that's good.
Third best is A-okay, too. Emily Oster, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.